Well, hey there, everybody. All right, so we are in week 6, and it's also Thanksgiving week, so happy Thanksgiving. I think this is perhaps my most favorite week of the year. I love this week for lots of good reasons, so I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully you'll get some time to spend with away from schoolwork and away from other the busyness of life, and be able to spend some more downtime with family and friends and loved ones. So hopefully that's on the agenda here for later in the week. So this week, in week 6, we're finishing our conversations about the social determinants of health section, and just a few comments about how I feel like it's been going. It's been wonderful from my perspective to watch your videos and read your discussion posts, because the dialogue is right where I hoped it would be for this topic. You're able to take these really difficult, really large concepts that most of the time feels like we don't have any control over them, and distill them down into how we might be able to work with them in the context of our own jobs as health and wellness professionals, healthcare professionals, health coaches, or wherever you are working in that space, and make sense of them, and be able to help folks, I think, in the ways that you're able to control. And so that's really, really wonderful to watch and to listen to and to read. There's a couple of things that I was hoping to, as we finish up our conversation relative to this, that I was hoping to kind of bring into this. And I think the main one is to bring it back to what are the reasons why we want to study this kind of thing. I mean, why do we care? Why do we want to pay attention? And that's to bring it back to this idea that when we're working with folks, certainly from an integrative health and wellness perspective, that we're looking at something more than just a condition. We're looking at something more than someone's body weight or physical activity or the types of foods they're eating or their medical conditions that they have diagnosed with. Or we're looking beyond that, and we're seeing the human that really lives with that. So, when one of the things that has, I think, plagued the healthcare system for many years is that when we have an individual that we're working with that has a difficult diagnosis like diabetes, that we do this thing of kind of dehumanizing, or at least separating the person from the diagnosis, as opposed to seeing that this person is living with this diagnosis. And when we separate it, we tend to dehumanize our advice and our conversation and the language we use and the tones we give, and it seems to be more directive, as to say, the eating that you should be doing is this, so just go do that, or the exercise you should be doing is this, or the other treatment modalities that we're working with. Just go do those, and then everything will be better. I think looking at the social determinants gives us this broader perspective to see the underlying factors that go into the success of being able to eat a certain way, or getting enough exercise, or managing stress, or getting enough sleep, or certainly taking medications, or having the transportation to get to appointments, or the money to pay for necessary treatment. Given the context of all the pieces that come into the human experience of family and income and politics and living situation, and all of the factors. So I think that's the root of why this is important for us to look at. And if we're just looking at what are the mechanics, say, of health coaching, and that we are able to do motivational interviewing correctly, or we're able to document correctly, or whatever that context is, we're doing an injustice to the individual that we're certainly the individual we're working with, But we're doing an injustice to our community in general, because we're giving the sense that we're only care about making sure body weight is where it's supposed to be, or making sure that we're eating enough fruits and vegetables, as opposed to the whole context of the living experience, and that it's the person that's underneath that matters most, and we work with that person in a way to help them get to where they want and need to be. And so I think this in a way softens us. Hopefully it softens us, where we see the human side of this, and softening is a good thing, which I think has been one of these areas that, as you know, just the stumbling around because of the whole concept of being smart and achieving, and all of these accolades come with some connotation that we have some hardness with us, that we take care of ourselves and we first and only, and that this relational peace thing, this softening that needs to happen with us in order to make a connection with the other person, is not a priority in traditional ways. And hopefully this, watching these videos and learning more about situations that people live in, softens us in a way that we can make a connection. And I think that's the primary purpose. If we can distill this thing down into why is this important for us as integrative health and wellness professionals, is so that we can have a relationship with other people. I mean, plain and simple. It's so that we can make that connection, because it's in that relational piece, in that relational care, that the good work, the real work, the necessary work can be done. And so we can hopefully soften to set aside our vulnerabilities and our egos, that we are able to make that connection instead of keeping people at a distance and just putting the blame off on someone else to say, well, it's it's your issue that you're overweight, or that you aren't eating the way you should be, or whatever reason we give. That we don't just put that blame on somebody else, that we recognize the larger picture of what's going on. And I think that leads to the other piece, hopefully, a really important concept relative to human connection, is the idea of seeing others in a very similar way to as we see ourselves, and that we lessen the distance between us. The othering, as it's usually called, is that we see people who are not like us as someone other than us, and somehow we tend to put people who are not in our socioeconomic, racial, educational structure, as if they're not like we are, then they're other, and that there's something different about them. And everyone's personal context is different, yes, but that distance between you and the people that you watched in the video is not very far. Even if you are, distanced by miles and living arrangements. And so that softening that we can hopefully experience when we learn more about social structures and pressures that people live in, that it brings us closer rather than increases the distance. And so this notion of wanting, which I really love, that wanting as in ONEING, of seeing ourselves and others as part of the same whole, rather than seeing us as separate by these superficial barriers of how much people make, or how much education they have, or where they live, or what kind of foods they eat, or what kind of language they speak, or what color their skin is, or what gender they are, or sexual preference they are, or any of those types of pieces that divide us. Hopefully that we move ourselves in a direction that is closer rather than farther. Because in reality, I think as I get older, that makes more sense for me to have this relationship with others as the primary piece that's going to move us in the right direction relative to our health, as opposed to looking just at the pieces that seem to make us different. And so that's a really important part about why we're bringing this in too, is that idea of seeing yourself and the people that you're working with as part of the same whole. And that then comes with some responsibility too, because if you're part of the same whole, if you see it that way, then you can no longer say it's your fault or it's somebody else's fault. And we get rid of the blame thing, and we move into a solution thing, that it's my responsibility to be part of the solution, as to just saying it's somebody else's responsibility to fix something that's not going well. So that's this whole idea, I think, of wholeness and wanting rather than othering. That seems to make a lot of sense for me anyway, relative to the care of others. I think if we get to the notion of what health probably means in the broadest context of health, and moving, although it's important to look at lifestyle behaviors and body weight and chronic conditions and those types of things, but if we keep moving that circle or those definitions ever wider, we see that health is at the root of what it means for us to have a human experience, because mental health and social and psychological and all the different definitions for health come into play and make up who we are as people, and that affects how we relate to other people. And that then, of course, gets back to the core of what we're doing in integrative health and wellness, is to look at the many factors that affect someone's health. And I think getting closer to what that root core is seems to at least be in part a conversation about relationship and this connection with other people. So as we finish up this few weeks here talking about social determinants, that's the real issue of why I was hoping to have this video series and conversation make an impact on you, is so that it somehow softens you to have a more connected relationship with other people, rather than the alternative of what our standard of practice and care has been. It seems like. So that's it. That's spilling the beans, and hopefully that makes sense for you, and particularly, how about that for something to be thankful for this week, is that maybe I'm not so different than anybody else that exists today or probably has ever existed. That I'm pretty much just like everybody else, and that we're all in this same wholeness together. So with that, again, I wish you the happiest of Thanksgivings, and we are only 2 weeks away from finishing this class, and so we will be able to wrap this thing up and tie it up in a bow, hopefully here in the next couple weeks. And I'm looking forward to being able to congratulate you all for finishing the Capstone course, and for most of you finishing the Integrative Health and Wellness Master's Program. All right, so I'll talk with you again next week, and have a good one. Thanks.